showing you how to make this watercolor effect and calligraphy using some of the celestial brushes and stamps, and it's actually super easy, so let's dive right in. So when you have Procreate open, you are just going to tap that and do a new screen size canvas, and I am going to bring my lettering that I did right in just to save a little time, but I'll show you how I did it as well. So on your layer 1 for you are going to, if you haven't done your lettering yet, I would sketch it out on layer 1 and then bring down the opacity by tapping the N. And then on a second layer above it, I'm gonna rename it to keep it organized, and I'm gonna name this layer my calligraphy layer. Now I'm going to grab the Celestial script brush from my Celestial pack, and we're just gonna start by using a dark color. We'll add color in a later step. You can adjust the size over here. Let me test that out and see how the size is. That is pretty good. And that is, right now I am on a size 13%. So I'll do all my calligraphy. And then we will come back in and add the color in the watercolor effect and paper and look. All right, so now that our calligraphy is done, we are going to add some color and make it look more watercolor-like. So we've got our layer here with our calligraphy. We are just going to tap it and select Alpha Lock. And then your download for the Celestial brush pack included a color palette. So I'm gonna use some of the blues and greens down here to color that in. Now to do the coloring step, you can use that monoline brush. I really like to use my monoline coloring brush from my Creative pack because I can make it nice and big. And then I'm just gonna color right on the calligraphy and just change colors every stroke or two. And then I'm gonna go back to the 2 colors I used. So I'm only using 3 colors total here. All right. Now we have some hard lines, so we wanna get rid of those. So I love using, this comes standard with Procreate, go to the artistic brushes and the fresco brush. And I really love how that one blends well. You can play with the size on the slider if you need to, and then you just come right in and kind of swirl it around until you get rid of those hard lines. Oops, I gotta go back. So see what I did here? I'm still on the brush. I don't want to be on the brush. What I want to do is be on the hand tool, the blending tool. Now we want to go to artistic and grab that fresco brush. You could color on it, but then you're gonna have to change colors more. If you just use the hand tool, it's just gonna blend the colors you already have together nicely and kind of make a mid-tone between those 2 colors, just like it would if you were doing real watercolor on paper. So just go through any hard lines you have and I really just kind of scribble in circles to kind of blend it nicely. And you get this lovely smooth blend then. You can drag it both ways. If you get too much dark, you can pull the other color back down. It's so realistic what you can do in Procreate. I just love it. All right, so we've almost got everything. Oops, I went back too far before and lost some of my color. So real quick, I'm going to add that color back in. Color that back in with, and then, whoops, a little too big. And then back to my hand tool to blend that out real quickly. All right, so we've now got our whole piece done and the color looks good. If you want it to be brighter than you think it is, all you have to do is come to your layer, swipe left, and click duplicate. Now you can see how much deeper the color is. So I'm gonna leave that, but tap the N and take the opacity down to about 27%. And then I want those to be one layer. So I'm just gonna tap it and click merge down. Now that looks pretty good, but why don't we make it even more fun by adding some stars? So I like to keep everything on separate layers. That makes it easier to edit, that makes it easier to work with, move around. So I'm gonna create a new layer, tap it and rename it stars. And then I'm gonna grab this nice deep golden yellow, go back to our Celestial brush pack and grab star 1. And I'm just going to kind of throw in some stars to kind of balance out any spaces that need it. Using little things like hearts and dots and little diamond shapes, anything like that that you can add to your lettering to balance out the space and kind of just give it a nice sense of you know, being even. These little illustrations are a super easy way to create that balance. All right, so maybe 1 or 2 more stars here and we'll call it good. Oh, and you can see right here, if you don't carefully tap the star, sometimes you get 2 of them. You just have to erase that out. And the nice thing about that is you can use it as a brush too, but you can also edit that in your settings and make it so it will only stamp. So I'll show you that in another video, so we're not doing too much in one. But now we have the stars, but they don't look watercolory like the rest of our piece. So there's an easy way to fix that using these brushes. So we're gonna go to your stars layer, tap it, and sorry, not clipping mask, 2-finger tap to undo, tap Alpha Lock. And now we want to grab, let's grab the Celestial block brush and a lighter yellow. I'm gonna grab that one right there. And then I'm gonna make it a, let's see, a big size. And then you can use those brushes as stamps too. And can you see how it is adding? Let me see if that shows up on camera here. That just adds some nice texture. So it gives it a little more of a watercolor-y look. And you can use the Celestial monoline brush for that as well. So you don't have to use the brushes just for your lettering and calligraphy. You can use them to add texture and make your pieces more realistic. So if we zoom in, we've got that nice texture that makes it look a little more realistic. And we have one final step to finish this piece. We need to add our watercolor paper that was also included with your download. So we are going to tap the wrench tool. Now, depending on where you've saved the watercolor paper, you might click insert a file, you might click insert a photo. I saved it to my photos, so I'm gonna click insert a photo, tap it. Now I wanna zoom out. So if I just zoom out, I'm just changing my paper. What I want to do is hold down that arrow tool and then use my 2 fingers so I can zoom out just a little and see what I'm working with. Now I'm gonna tap that 45 degrees so I can have it going the same orientation as my canvas, and I'm gonna stretch that so it fits over my whole lettering piece. Now I'm going to tap and hold it and drag it to the bottom. So now you've got a nice watercolor look. And there's one more thing you can do to make it look even more realistic. So I will drag that, duplicate it, bring it to the top. I'm gonna click the N and click multiply. And that lets my lettering shine through, but also add some texture over the top of it. So I am going to reduce the opacity down to maybe 20% or so. And you can even do that with your bottom layer too. If you want it to be more subtle, you can change how much watercolor paper shows through. And now we've got our finished piece, and you can use so many different colors and styles. And if you notice, oh, I didn't blend that quite well enough, because you have it on separate layers, you can easily go back in and kind of do some more blending. So the more layers, the better when you're working with pieces that have a lot of elements. The caveat to that is I usually end up with pieces that have just a ridiculous amount of layers, but the bigger your artboard is, the less layers you can use in Procreate. So I usually just kind of stick to around 2000 by 2000, unless you're doing something for a client that needs blown up, then maybe you're gonna work in a 4000 by 5000 pixel artboard. But for most things, just using the standard artboards that Procreate gives you will be just fine, especially if you're just doing things for your Instagram or fun things like that. Like even this I printed on my normal LaserJet printer, and that's just the 2000, you know, standard. If you go back out here to Procreate, and that screen size looks like 2700-ish by 2000. So that's printed, and I know it's hard to see on camera, but it has really good textures and colors in person just from that size. So that is the end of our series. We've done Reach for the Stars, we've done lettering on photo, we've done lettering in circles like this piece. So if you missed any of those videos, just head back on my blog or YouTube channel and you can learn how we've made all these different artworks over the past 4 weeks using all of the Celestial brushes.